Okay, welcome back. Again, this is John with DATSIFACT Narrative Writing, and this is part 2 of coding for Magic Treehouse book number 6. If you're looking for part 1 in which we code for the DATSI elements of DATSIFACT, you can click on the link right here, or there's a link in the description below. Now we finished coding for DATSIFACT in video 1, and so for this video we're going to be coding for the fact elements. We'll need 4 pins to start with, and again, we're going to start alphabetically, so we'll be starting with the black pin. Okay, alright, let's get to it. So here we are again with Afternoon on the Amazon, which is Magic Treehouse book number 6. And if you'll remember already, we have coded for the DATSI elements, and we coded those with highlighters. It looks a lot like this, except, ignore the green speech bubbles and the blue lines, and on the other page the black lines. That's something we'll come into in this video. But if you look at just the highlighted parts, we have coded for the DATSI elements. Now if you'll remember, we left the excerpts in the bottom right hand corner of page 19 and 21 alone because those are books that Jack reads in the book. And so students don't really write that way, so we decided to ignore it. But if you look at it, remember it's mostly green and blue because when you're writing, most of everything in a story is going to be people talking or them performing actions. And so that's green and blue. There's a little yellow, a little orange, and then there's going to be a pink for the setting here on the first part. But we have coded for the DATSI elements. In this video, we are going to code for the fact elements. So let's go ahead and get to it. And the first thing we're going to come up with is figurative language. If you remember from DATSIFACT, that is another acronym called SMOP. Similes, metaphors, onomatopoeia, and personification. And what we're going to need is we're going to need our black pens, because when you're coding for the fact elements, you're going to switch from highlighters to pens. Again, they're going to be in alphabetical order, so we're going to start with black. And with the black, we're going to look for figurative language, the SMOP elements. And I always start with the similes and metaphors, because that's where you compare two different things. With a simile, you're using like or as. With a metaphor, you're just saying one thing is the other thing. Let me go and explain this. You're going to have black lines and blue lines. What it is I've already coded for these elements, and then I've just taken those lines and kind of pushed them to the sides. Because all I wanted to do is get through this quickly so I can just grab those lines and put them where they go instead of spending so much time underlining. This will just make it much quicker. Okay, so we're looking for SMOP, similes, and metaphors. There is one example of a simile. It's right up here at the top. It's underlined, or it's highlighted in yellow. It sounded like a person walking over leaves. It's not a great simile, but it's there. Just to remember, show you that that authors do use similes in their writing. And here we're talking about the ants walking through the forest. So it sounded like a person walking over leaves. Okay, we've done the simile. There are no metaphors, I can tell you that much. Then we're looking for onomatopoeia, which are those words that sound like how they are in reality, like the moo of a cow or the ding of a bell. It's down here on the bottom left-hand corner, and it's right there in that sentence, he heard a crackling sound. Crackling is the onomatopoeia. It is the sound. The crackle is the sound that's made in reality. So that is your onomatopoeia. Okay, and then we can move on to personification, where you give human characteristics to things that aren't human. Drag this up, and it is the silent forest came alive. A forest can't technically come alive, and we're just showing students that these are the elements that professional writers use in their own stories. So if you can get them to understand that, then they'll buy into it, and they'll be much better writers because they're going to start using the same elements that professional authors use. Okay, and with that done, there were the 3 examples of SMOP, which are figurative language. So let's move on to adverbs and adjectives. Now there are a lot of adverbs and adjectives. I'm not sure that I found them all. I really didn't try to find them all. But what I did is I tried to find enough of them to make students understand. We'll start with adverbs. So let's go ahead and jump in. We've got a blue one right here for finally. And then in the setting paragraph, there are quite a few very, very, verys, which is an adverb that describes an adjective, which again, we don't really care if students understand what they do, as long as they understand that there are adverbs and there are adjectives, and these are things that the students need to look for as they're writing. Okay, this will be a quiet forest, huge trees, hanging vines, listen to that weird sound. And I think that's pretty much it for the adverbs. So if we go back, we can look for the adjectives. Now the adjectives are words that describe things, people, places, or things, and there are going to be quite a few more adjectives than there are adverbs in any writing. So you can get through this. Those are giant spiders. He took a deep breath. Deep describes the breath. They had to find the special thing. Special describes thing. Forest describes the floor. Dead describes the leaves. Rainforest is the book. Dark describes the world. Look here on the second two pages, 20 and 21. It's a quiet forest. Again, it's a special thing. Those are hanging vines. It's a huge tree. It's a weird sound. And again, I've already done this, so I'm going to move a lot more quickly. It's a giant bud, and that's a silent forest. Now, it's obviously going to be highlighted in green, silent. But it's also going to be underlined in black because it's part of the personification. The silent also gets blue because it is an adjective. So again, notice there can be more than one element attributed to one word or a phrase or something in DATSIFACT when you're coding, and that's quite okay. Okay, all right. So we're finished with the adverbs and adjectives, and when we move on to characterization, characterization is something that Mary Pope Osborne does, but she doesn't do it every chapter. So what I've done is I've created these green speech bubbles, and in it I've typed in what I consider to be a good example of characterization, which is similar to what Mary Pope Osborne does early on in the book, but of course she's not going to keep characterizing the characters throughout the whole book. She does in the first chapter or the second chapter. I have two characters in this scene. I have Jack and I have Annie. So if I'll take this and I'll put this next to Jack. And if you can read that a little more clearly, there's the sentence as it's written with the characterization. So so when we're characterizing, the sentence would read Jack didn't move. But I've characterized Jack, set it off with commas. And so what I wrote is that a 10-year-old boy who loves to read. Okay, so instead of reading Jack didn't move, I've used some characterization, and now it reads Jack, a 10-year-old boy who loves to read, didn't move. Okay. Again, it's not in the book per se, but Mary Pope Osborne does characterize. She just does it earlier in the book. Because we're in chapter 4, I decided to do it myself. Just kind of cheating, but if you read the book, you'll understand that she does. And then we are going to characterize Annie. Put that right there. And again, the sentence reads, Annie called from above. But I'm going to characterize Annie as Jack's animal-loving younger sister. So the sentence now would read, Annie, Jack's animal-loving younger sister, called from above. And that's how I would write it. Again, this is a PDF document, so I can't get in there and add things. So I just decided to do it with a speech bubble, and I colored it green. In reality, if you're coding, you would just underline it in green, but it doesn't really exist here in this excerpt. So what I did is I just added their characterization in a speech bubble. Okay, all right, we are done with characterization. We can move on to topic. Just to let you know that there is no topic because this is not a personal narrative. Again, topic is written in personal narratives, not fictional narratives. And this is an example of fictional narrative. So you're not going to find any topic really. And that's pretty much it. So I guess we can get out of here. If you look around, again, adding the fact elements, again, everything is highlighted except for the excerpts of the book that Jack reads in the book. But then within the highlighting, you have some underlining of adverbs and adjectives. You have some characterization in the green speech bubbles here. And then when you look on the second page, you have some more blue. You don't have characterization because generally that's concentrated in one area. But you do have the black underlining, which is the figurative language, the SMOP, the similes, metaphors, onomatopoeia, and personification. Okay, and I think we're done. Okay, I hope you've enjoyed this video about a little bit about what coding is all about. It's the first activity I use with my students because it helps students learn the DATSIFACT elements and their definitions, as well as it helps students analyze an author's writing and helps find the patterns that authors use when they write their own stories. And if they can start to find that in their own reading or as they read by themselves, they're going to constantly become better and better writers because it's something that they're going to do automatically as they read through the stories that they like. Please look for the other videos that I've done on the DATSIFACT YouTube channel, or you can look for them on my website. The link is in the description below. Thanks again, and I hope that you become a successful story writer soon. Thanks again.